Now it's time for perspective on the programme, and it is 3 years since 130 people were killed and more than 400 injured as a terrorist cell attacked Paris. Suicide bombers outside the Stade de France during a football match, several shootings in Paris at cafes and restaurants, and a mass shooting at the Bataclan concert hall. Today then, in a series of commemorations to remember those who lost their lives, the French Prime Minister will pay tributes at the commemorative plaques at each of the sites where people died. The attacks organised and orchestrated, of course, by a terrorist cell in Belgium, some of whom had fought in Syria as well, and the attacks then followed as well by those in Belgium itself just 4 months later. 3 years on, though, from the Paris attacks, where do the authorities lie with trying to ensure they do not happen again? And where do experts say efforts should be put to try to stop them? Well, one book aims to answer those questions. It's called France Belgique, le diagonale terroriste. Here it is. And one of its authors, French lawyer Asif Arif, joins me now here on set. Thanks for coming in and talking to us today. First of all, let's talk about what happened 3 years ago. I mean, where, if anywhere, did the authorities get it wrong? What went wrong, do you think?
Well, I think we minimise, in France and in Belgium, we minimise the threat of a terror attack. We have been safe since the 9/11. So we were thinking we're pretty much safe because we didn't intervene in Iraq, so maybe create a proper ground in order for us to think that there won't be a terrorist attack. But actually, the judge, Marc Trévidic, who actually forwarded this book, was raising the alarm since a long time. And he was saying, actually, I'm receiving into my cabinet a lot of persons who can perpetrate a terrorist act in Paris. So we should not minimize. But the good thing is, since what happened in Charlie Hebdo and then after what happened in Paris attacks, we understand that the terrorist threat is not a minor threat. We need to understand it, and it became a very national concern. So the American used the word of national security, so now we use also the word of national threat and national security, and we implemented a certain amount of law, which I'm not totally proud of. For example, the state of emergency, who lost for 2 long years.
We did a long time.
Yeah. So they help us to bring to put a light on what is going on in France, how the network is organized, and all that. But at the end of the day, is on behalf of the security of all, on behalf of, the freedom of all citizens that happen. So the state of emergency that I'm not proud of, November 2017, there is this law who Macron was really for. A lot of people saying basically it's the same thing as the exactly, it's the same thing which is being legalized, which still I am not proud of. But the thing is, we are moving, politicians are moving according to the threat. So they are trying
Are the authorities targeting the right area, though? Because, I mean, a lot of people initially, particularly when this happened, were saying that it was Islam that was at fault here. How do you see it?
Well, I think we should be very mindful about what we're doing here, because if our aim is to foster misunderstanding in the society, this is the right path to say Islam is the problem. I think Islam is not the problem, and I will go far away from that. I will say Islam is part of the solution, because we need the Islamic movement to get in front and to help politicians, to help different civil actors to understand terrorism, to understand why this wrong concept of jihad has been fostering in the mind of our children, in the mind of some people.
So where does it come from then?
I think it comes from a very wrong interpretation of the Quran. It comes from a very wrong interpretation of basic Islamic principles. And to some extent, we can also think that these people have no knowledge about Islam. Some communities in other part of the world, I'm thinking about Ahmadiyya Muslim community, for example, in the UK, is doing an amazing job under the leadership of Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, for example, who is trying to go into a big audience's place and is trying to raise the attention of people on what is true jihad, what is the meaning of jihad, what is the Quranic meaning of the jihad. But of course, when you have this religious address, you need to implement it in a political way. And this political way is always through security measures that we are adopting. And in some way, you cannot say that what politicians have been doing since the last couple of years did not work.
And there's a lot of arguments as well in the book, isn't there, about how it's actually about people feeling part of a society, and the fact that they don't feel integrated, which has led to a lot of the problems as well.
Yeah, because there is, you know, in our society, what happened is, because we treat Islam as the problem, we foster a lot of misunderstanding. This misunderstanding brings back other problems, were background problem in France with our banlieue, suburb area of Paris, with our immigration, with a lot of other problems were side problems, but we triggered them into the terrorist problem. So that created a mountain of misunderstanding, and we need to fight against all that. But the thing is, government today is fighting by saying, we have security measure, we have strong security level, this is how we are arresting a lot of people into this who are willing to perpetrate a terrorist attack here in France. But the only thing is, there were less attacks in the last couple of months.
Are we fighting it correctly now?
Well, you always need to fight correctly now, because the thing is, you always need more security measure in order to reassure the population. What will happen to the next attack? The problem is not, are we fighting it today correctly? The problem is how the population will react tomorrow when there will be a terrorist attack, because the terror threat is at the top level right now. And what are we going to do with the civil liberties of people? Are we going to again control internet, more monitor the internet, monitor the purpose of Facebook, monitor the Twitter and all that? Where are we going? Because at every terrorist attack, we will want to go at the next step. And this is the biggest problem in terrorism, is that a minor fact, not minor in its repercussion, but minor in the amount of criminality that there is, the terrorism is creating great law changements. And this is exactly what Daesh wants. So Daesh lost a lot of territory. We can say he lost ideologically as well in some part of the world. But did he lose the war? I don't think so, because there is a huge communication war which is going on, and Daesh, by changing our law, by waiving our rules and state of law, is actually winning somehow.
Asif, we'll have to leave it there. Asif Arif joining us here on set. That's the book then, France Belgique, La Diagonale Terroriste. Thanks very much.